Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So today is our first Modern Monday Instant Deck Tech. We're moving to an actual schedule for Instant Deck Techs instead of just being all helter-skelter, random formats here and there. So every Monday, unless it's a set release or some other special period where we change things up, but every Monday, Modern Deck Tech. And do we have a sweet one for today? This is All in Tokens by Yamazawa Noriaki. Recently took Yamazawa to a undefeated finish in a Japanese tournament. So congrats to Yamazawa on their finish with the deck. A quick reminder before we break it all down, if you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So we've seen token decks in Modern before. Black-white tokens is the most popular of the archetypes. This is essentially a white-red token deck that's also splashing black, so technically it's Mardu, but the key feature of this deck is it is all in. The idea is this is going to be super duper aggressive, so we're going to look at what this deck does on each turn, and the deck starts playing on turn 0 with Leyline of the Week. So Leyline of the Week is sort of like Intangible Virtue. It's an Anthem effect for tokens, except it's also a Leyline, so if you have it in your opening hand, you just start with it on the battlefield on turn 0, and then any token you play after that or create after that, it's going to be a little bit bigger. It's going to get +1/+1. So kind of the goal of this deck is to use Leyline of the Week with token producers to be incredibly aggressive. With the deck's nut draw, you can have 6 power worth of creatures on turn 1, which is really hard to beat. It's just so fast. It's like triple Goblin Guide almost. So how does the deck get 6 power on the battlefield on turn 1? It uses the combination of Kadoltha Rebirth and 0 cost artifact. So Kadoltha Rebirth, you get 3 1/1 red goblin tokens. If you have a Leyline of the Week on the battlefield on turn 0, they're going to be 2/2s, but to cast it for 1 red mana, you have an additional cost. You also have to sack an artifact, so the deck is looking for opening hands that have like Leyline of the Week to start on the battlefield, a Kadoltha Rebirth, and one of the 9 0 mana artifacts it has in the deck, Mishra's Bauble, Engineered Explosives, Sigil of Distinction. So these cards all do stuff. Engineered Explosives can be a removal spell. Mishra's Bauble can draw you a card. Sigil, I guess it can pump up your creatures. I think the numbers on these are a little weird. I would assume you'd want more baubles since they cycle, more engineered explosives since they do something, and less sigils, because sigil seems pretty bad. But the idea is you play these on turn 1 for free, and then you just sack them to Kadoltha Rebirth, and when you sack them to Kadoltha Rebirth, you get 3 goblins, you got the Leyline, you start attacking for a ton of damage. So this is kind of the turn 1 play, and then on turn 2, get a bunch of options. You got Bitter Blossom to just create a steady stream of tokens. It's the 1 black card in the deck. And then we have Intangible Virtue as yet another Anthem. So you can Leyline of the Week on turn 0, make 3 goblins on turn 1. On turn 2, you play Intangible Virtue. All your goblins are 3/3s with Vigilance. You're going to win a lot of those games unless your opponent has very specific answers. And then Hangerback Walker works with Kadoltha Rebirth in the late game, since you can play it and sack it. It's worth noting, even though it's technically a 0 mana artifact, you can't play it on turn 1 because it'll just die, because it has no power. So it doesn't really work on turn 1 with Kadoltha Rebirth, but in the late game, you can play it for 2 mana, then Kadoltha Rebirth it, like on turn 3, get a token out of the Hangerback, also get your goblin tokens. And then on turn 3, we got the big hitters. You get 4 Lingering Souls, 4 Spectral Processions, ways to just go super wide with flying tokens. Lingering Souls can make 4, counting the flashbacks. Spectral Procession can make 3, but only for 3 mana. So when you consider that they're getting +1/+1 from Leyline of the Week, +1/+1 from Intangible Virtue, these are really powerful threats. And then just a couple of timely reinforcements, sort of a hedge against burn decks, aggressive decks, lets you gain a little bit of life. In the mana base, the kind of important land, I guess, is Windbrisk Heights. It's a way you can cast something for cheap. You get to exile one of your top 4 cards when it enters the battlefield. Then if you attack with 3 or more creatures, which happens to be 1 Kadoltha Rebirth worth of cards, 1 spectral procession worth of cards, so it's pretty easy to attack with 3. You just pay 1, tap it, and you get to cast the card under it for free. Rest of the mana base, you get a bunch of different fetch lands, a bunch of shock lands to fetch up. In the sideboard, we get Chalice of the Void as an alternate 0-cost artifact. Some matchups, Chalice on 1 is very good. In those matchups, you bring it in over like Sigil, you can use it to sack to Kudaltha Rebirth, or you can use it to actually disrupt the opponent. Hour of Reckoning is a wrath that doesn't kill tokens, and you can convoke by tapping your creatures to make it cheaper, so it can essentially be a free wrath in this deck. Shining Shoal is a way to prevent some damage. Then we get a bunch of white hate cards, Rest in Peace, Stony Silence, and also Timely Reinforcements. And that is all in tokens for Modern, and that's our instant deck for today. So thank you very much for watching our first Modern Monday instant deck. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.